Gensha complained to his followers one day. Other masters are always carrying on about the necessity of saving everyone. But suppose you meet up with someone who is deaf, dumb, and blind. He couldn't see your gestures, hear your preaching, or ask question. Unable to save him, you'd prove yourself a worthless Buddhist. Troubled by these words, one of Gensha's disciples went to consult a master woman who was a disciple of Seppo. Bow please, said woman. The monk obeyed the master command, then straightened up in expectation of having his query answered. But instead of an answer, he got a staff thrust at him. He leaped back. Well, you're not blind. Now approach. The monk did as he was bidden. Good, said the woman. You're not deaf either. Well, understand? Understand what, sir? You're not dumb either, said the woman. On hearing these words, the monk awoke as from a deep sleep. Jesus used to say to his disciples, and not only once but many times, if you have eyes, look. If you have ears, then hear me. They had eyes just like you, and they had ears just like you. Then Jesus must have meant something else. There is a different way of seeing the world, and a different way of hearing, a different way of being. When you have that different quality of seeing, God is seen. When you have a different way of hearing, God is heard. And when you have the different quality of being, you become God yourself. As you are deaf, dumb, blind. Deaf to God, dumb to God, blind to God, dead to God. Nietzsche had declared that God is dead. In fact, when you are dead, how can God be alive to you? God is dead because you are dead. You can know God only when you live abundantly. When your life becomes an overflowing, when it is a flood. God is not a necessity in this world. Scientific laws are a necessity. Without them, the world cannot be. God is not a necessity that way. Without Him, the world can be, but it will be worthless. Without Him, you can exist, but your existence will be just a vegetable existence. God is not a necessity. You can be there, but your being there will not be of any meaning. It will have no poetry. It will have no song. It will have no dance to it. It will not be a mystery. Without God, all that is beautiful disappears, because the beautiful comes only as an overflowing. It is a luxury. I tell you that God is the most luxurious thing in the world. God is not necessary. You can live very well, but you will miss something. You will be more like a wound than like an alive force. How to find this meaning, the ecstasy? You will need a different way of looking. Right now you are blind. You can see matter, but matter is not a necessity. You can see the tree very well, but you miss the flowers. When a man like Jesus speaks, he is possessed. Something greater than him speaks through him. When a man like Buddha speaks, he is not a Gautama Siddhartha who was born a son of the king. He is no longer the body you can see. When it happened to Muhammad the first day when he came in contact with the divine, he fell on the ground, started shivering, and the morning was as cold as this morning. He was alone, and from the very pores of his soles, of his feet, he started perspiring. He was afraid something unknown had touched him. Muhammad is reported to have said, "For the first time, something is there to say. Up to now, I have been a dumb man. I was making gesture from the mouth. I was talking, but only my lips were moving. There was nothing to say. Now there is something I have to say. That's why I am trembling so much." For 3 days, Muhammad remained in his bed, absolutely dumb. You are dumb, you may be saying too many things, but remember, you talk too much just to hide that dumbness. You talk not to communicate, you talk just to hide. I once stayed with a family and I was sitting with the man of the house. When the son came in, a small child, and he asked his father if he would answer a few questions. The father said, "I am engaged. You go and ask your mother." The child said, "But I don't want to know that much. Because if she starts talking, there is no end to it." People go on talking and talking, and without knowing why they are talking. What is there to convey? It is just to hide their dumbness. Moment is not life. Of course, life has a very deep movement. But movement is not life. You can go on moving from one town to another, and you can cover the whole earth. But that movement is not life. When people get stuck, they start moving outwardly. Now the American has become the bona fide traveler. He travels all over the world from this corner to that. Because the American consciousness is stuck somewhere so badly that if you remain in one place, you will feel you have gone dead. So move. I have heard that once one Hollywood actress was introducing her child to a new husband. She said, "Now meet your new father." The child said, "Hello, I'm happy to meet you. Would you like to give me your signature in my visitor's book?" Because he had so many new fathers. Everything has to become changed just to feel that you are alive, a hectic search for life. And why are you so dead and blind deaf? There must be something, there must be some investment in it. Otherwise, so many people could not be in such a state. It must be paying you something. You must be getting something out of it. Just the other night, I was talking to a friend. He is a very educated man. Listening to him, I felt he is completely dead. He asked me, "What solution would you suggest? Because life has so many sufferings, so many injustices, so many things that hurt you. How to live life so that you don't feel hurt?" So I told him there are two ways. One, which is easier but has a very great cost. One is to become dead. to become as insensitive as possible. Because if you are insensitive, if you grow a thick skin around you, then you don't bother much. Somebody insults you and you have such a thick skin that it never enters. This is the mechanism of your deadness. If you are more sensitive, you will be hurt more. Then every small thing will become a pain. There are problems and there are millions of people. There is violence all around. There is a misery. You pass through the street and beggars are there. Why these big beggars? What have they done to suffer this? And somehow deep down you feel, I am also responsible. You simply pass by the beggar as if you are deaf, dumb, blind. Have you ever looked at a beggar? You may have seen a beggar, but you have never looked at him. You have never encountered him. So often there is a danger, and you have to think about your life, not about this beggar. You see a dying man. What can you do? You see a crippled child. What can you do? Just the other day, one sannyasin came to me and he said he was very much disturbed because on the road, when he was passing a truck, almost killed a dog. The dog was already not in good shape. With only 2 legs, the dog was trying to live. The sannyasin looked pity, felt compassion. He looked the dog in his hand, and then he saw there was a hole in his back. He wanted to help, but how to help? And he became so disturbed that he couldn't sleep. There are dogs, and there are trucks, and things go on happening. You go on your way. You don't look around. It is dangerous to look. Have you ever observed how you always feel fear whenever you are in a love relationship or whenever love stays? Suddenly a fear takes over because whenever you love a person, you surrender to the person. People have become afraid of love. It is better to go on to a prostitute than to have a beloved. It is better to have a wife than to have a beloved because a wife is an institution. People come to me and say, we surrender to you, but I know they cannot. It is almost impossible. They have never loved. How can they surrender? They are speaking without knowing what they are saying. Surrender is just like love. That's why I say only lovers can become sannyasins. You are afraid. You would like to have your own control on your life. And you would like to control the other's life also. As the continuous quarrel between husband and wives and lovers, constant quarrel, conflict. What is the conflict? The conflict is who will dominate whom, who will possess whom. It has to be settled first. If you cannot love a person, you cannot love humanity. That may be a trick. Those who cannot love persons, because it is very dangerous to love a person, they always think they love humanity. People who cannot love a person start loving God. They don't know what they are doing. To love a God who is somewhere sitting in the sky, it is a monologue. Obedience has a certain dumbness about it. Disobedience, a sharp intelligence about it. But obedience is respected because obedience gives less inconvenience. All your education simply makes you capable of worrying about situations everywhere in the world, about everyone except you, about all the troubles that are in the world. They have always been there. They will always be there. It is not because you are here that troubles are there. You were not, and they were there. The first thing woman is pointing out is you are neither blind nor dumb nor deaf. So why are you concerned and why are you troubled? You have eyes. Why waste time thinking about blind men? Why not look at your master? Because blind men will be there always. Your master will not be there always. And you can think and worry about blind and deaf people, how to save them, but the man who can save you will not be there forever. My experience is always that people are concerned about others. Once one man brought to me even exactly the same question. They appear relevant, but they are irrelevant. Because why are you worried? And if you are worried in such a way, then you can never become enlightened. Because a person who goes on wasting his energy on others never looks at himself. Forget the world outside, the whole society, and only then can something can be done to you. And when you are saved, you can start to saving others. And woman created a situation. He could have said this, but he is not saying it. He is creating a situation because only in a situation are you totally involved. If I say something, only intellect is involved. You listen from the head. But when the monk got a staff thrust at him, he jumped totally. That's the whole point of my meditation technique. The whole of you has to shake, jump, dance, move. If you simply sit with closed eyes, only the head is involved. You can go on and on inside the head. But a mantra moves in the head. Your totality is not involved. Anything intensely active will be helpful. Inactive, you can simply go on rambling inside the mind. And they have no end. The dreams, the thoughts, they have no end. They go on infinitely. Kabir said, there are two infinities in the world. One is ignorance, and the other is God. Two things are endless. God is endless, and ignorance is endless. You can go on repeating a mantra, but it will not help unless your whole life becomes a mantra, unless you are completely involved in it. That's what woman did. The monk got a step thrust at him. He leaped back. And the woman said, you're not blind. Now approach. The monk did as he was bidden. Good. You're not deaf either. What is he pointing at? He is pointing at this. You can understand, so why waste time? Then he asks, well, understand? Woman said. Woman was finished. The situation was complete. But the disciple was not yet ready. He asked, "Understand what?" The whole thing was there now. Ummun had said whatsoever was to be said, and he has created a situation where thoughts were not. When somebody pushes a step at you, you jump without thought. If you think you cannot jump, if you can jump totally, why not meditate totally? When a step is there to trust you, you jump without caring about the world. And the master said, "Understand?" And the disciple said, "Understand what?" And the master said, "You're not dumb either." On hearing these words, the monk awoke, as from a deep sleep. A whole situation, non-verbal, illogical, as if someone has shaken him out of his sleep. He awoke. For a moment, everything became clear. For a moment, there was lightning, there was no darkness. Satori happened. Now the taste is there. Now this disciple can follow the taste. Now he has known, he cannot forget it ever. Now the search will be totally different. Before this, it was a search for something unknown. Now he knows. It was really a small experience, a window opened. Now he can move out of his house. Now he knows that the question is individual. Don't make it social. The question is you. And when I say you, I mean you, each individual, not you as a group. When I mean you, I mean simply you, the individual. The mind wants to worry about others. You can postpone your own problem. That's how you have been wasting your lives for many lives. Don't waste it anymore. I've been pushing these talks, subtler ones than with Ummun. But if you don't listen to me, I may have to find grosser things. Don't think about others. First, solve your problem. Then you will have the clarity to help others also. And nobody can help unless he is enlightened himself.